Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This podcast is all about farmers markets, how to increase your market business success while providing people with fresh food. Farmers markets are essential. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a small farmer or food maker selling at farmers markets, you have found just the right podcast. This week on Tent Talk, we're chatting about how to set up your market for success in the new year. Hey everyone, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers. I'm a longtime farmers market manager and the education coordinator at Farmers Market Pros.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager and consultant, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, and the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I'm Justine Marzoni-Mead, Tent Talk producer, marketing director for Farmers Market Pros, and logistics coordinator for Intense, the Farmers Market Conference 2023. Soon I won't be confused about saying 2023. It will all make sense because we'll be in the new year.
Yeah, that's right.
It's coming.
And it's coming so soon.
So soon, everybody.
This is when it gets real, people.
Yeah. The real deal is happening. Prepare yourself. Get yourself that holiday gift of a ticket to the conference.
Actually, that would be cool.
Yeah, treat yourself.
Treat yourself, and I mean, if you got the budget for it, you're coming up on the end of the year, you got to spend up the last of that budget. Bring the whole team.
That's right.
That would be a cool thing to give as bonuses to your market team.
That's our number one tip to get ready for the new year. Get everyone to the conference.
Use those those special deals that are happening now.
Yeah, get to get
it's
double
like
the
Southwest.
Points. Oh, yeah.
We're a Southwest hub.
That's true. It's easy to get here on Southwest. That is true.
There you go.
Today's episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market Podcast, is supported by MarketWurks, providing a single, multifaceted tool to manage your markets, schedule your farmers and vendors, create market maps, and maintain up-to-date data on attendance, space rent, sales, and more. Give up that stuffed 3-ring binder, step away from Excel, and free up your time. Click the MarketWurks logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com to get started today.
Welcome back to Tent Talk. This week we are gearing up for 2023. Can't believe it's coming so soon. And another year of operating farmers markets or operating in farmers markets. Time really flies when you're a busy market professional. And today we're discussing some various ways you can start the new calendar year off on the right foot and set your farmers market up for another successful year.
That plan ahead thing. Such a concept.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We love that concept.
What do they say? Fail to plan or plan to fail.
Oh, my God. My dad says that all the time. That's why I'm the way I am.
Well, thank you, Justine's father.
That's right.
We're all benefiting
Big shout
from
out.
that.
Send that man a card and a Christmas bonus.
We're going to get you a shirt.
Just send him a ham.
Yeah.
All right.
Christmas ham.
You can do that.
But it's true, right? So planning ahead just makes your life easier, makes your market easier. So try just a few things. And sometimes I get overwhelmed, like I can't do all of these things ahead of time. So maybe just narrow your focus, like think about what are your priorities? What are some things that you truly want to plan ahead to do? That's right. And then get those done. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll be talking about a lot of things today where it's like we're not, delusional thinking that you're just sitting around eating bonbons all day. We know you're busy. Many markets are open year round. And even if you are a seasonal market and this is your quote unquote off season, you may either be contracted to do other work during this time or you're busy doing other projects. But there's just something about the start of the new year where making changes is a little easier, or at least it seems a little bit more logical, where if you present a new change at the top of the year, it's maybe a little bit easier for people to accept. We all know that farmers and vendors hate change.
Right.
So maybe presenting it at the top of a new year might be, it may be received a little bit more gracefully.
A little more approachable time of year.
And you can kind of blend it with a whole Happy New Year, let's plan for success. Look at all these new fun things that we're doing, like changing the rules.
And
increasing your rent.
We'll frame it as like, hey, we're going to try to be successful as a whole. Like when you're successful, the market's successful and vice versa. So like start off with some good like teamwork, rah, and maybe frame all of any changes that you're putting into place around, hey, we're all kind of working together toward this successful goal.
Yeah, kick off a successful new year. So part of that, this would be a good time to kind of review your market policies, update any of those that you need to update, and then transition that into updating your rules and guidelines that you're going to provide your farmers and vendors if you're a manager.
Yeah, and that might come out if you do any like end of year review, or if you have a board that you have to report to. Maybe there was an issue that you're responding to, something that happened in 2022 that in 2023 you're like, this is a great way to resolve this issue, or just responding to the way that this last calendar year went for you.
Yeah, a little reflection is really helpful. And so you can frame any changes with kind of saying, oh, we tried it, or that didn't work last year, so we're going to do it different this year.
We think it'll work better this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've got a good session coming up, actually, at the conference in March from Alan Moy, who runs, I think he's got the third largest number of markets that he's responsible for in the country. But he does a lot of looking at the data from last year to set new policies and also to justify, whether to boards or to markets and vendors, to explain why he's making the decisions that he does.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. It's a good reason to sit down and kind of go through these things. And on that note, I mean, whether you're running, because your job is also a lot, you're juggling a lot of things. You're juggling the same kinds of things that anyone who's managing a bigger market is juggling. And maybe it's a little less, but it's still the same things. And so you still want to plan ahead and kind of take these approaches and take the whole, yes, we're going to be really successful. And maybe that means going from 10 to 15 vendors. But that's a big goal to go for, and to kind of plan ahead and be intentional about that's important.
Well, and actually managing a smaller market and a smaller budget can require being even more precise and more analytical, because you've got less margin for error.
For sure.
You've got X amount of dollars that you want to stretch to accomplish all these things, and you have to make sure that you use each one wisely. So digging down and really analyzing what's been working, what hasn't, can be even more important with a smaller market.
Yeah, that's been our experience. I think having kind of smaller weekday markets and then our larger market on Saturday, I always feel like I work harder for the weekday markets because they're in like a growth season, or they're just kind of, if we lose one vendor at that market, it makes such a bigger impact on the bottom line than if someone leaves the big Saturday market. So yeah, just kind of analyzing those things is really important no matter what the size of your market is.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Other big changes that you could make, or, if you've been thinking about them, I think this happens to me as somebody that works at the market in the summer when it's like the height of the season. I have all these exciting ideas, but it's like, you're not going to change stuff when the market is just like, cranking and you're really busy and farmers are like pulling everything out of the ground. It's kind of too hard to change things when you're really in that vein. So maybe when things are a little bit slower, or, so even things like switching out your EBT SNAP tokens for scrip, maybe updating that system is something that's been on your list for a while, and this could be a great time to do it.
Yeah, and those are changes that the shoppers are going to feel on their end.
Yeah.
I mean, if you update vendor policy stuff, that's only going out to the vendors. But if it's something that's kind of forward-facing, front-facing, like switching something up on your EBT customers, the new year can also be a good time to be like, hey, it's a new year. We're using this new system. Like, everyone's learning a new thing when the new year comes around. So it's kind of a good time to have those discussions with your shoppers as well.
And probably more time to explain things to them than when you're in the mad rush. I will say on making fee changes, for instance, what we like to do is analyze the fees, look at, do we need to make any changes in the upcoming year, but then actually institute those changes in summer.
Oh.
So, because that's when people are the busiest. Now, if you're in Arizona or Texas or somewhere where summer's your off season,
Palm Springs.
You can flip this around. But we actually find that it's easier for vendors to absorb a fee change if you're going up at all in the middle of summer when things are at their peak. And then by the time you get to fall, they're used to it. They've adjusted their budget, whatever they need to do.
Yeah, well, maybe then at the, if you are planning on increasing your fees, you might notify people at the beginning of the year and say, hey, coming this summer, this is something that we are going to be implementing.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Even if the change isn't going into effect, maybe announcing it, giving people a long lead time, letting them know what's coming in the new year, even if it's going to take 4 or 5, 6 months for you to finally follow through on that.
Yeah. And it's the seasonal markets that maybe open up in March or April or May, and they do season passes, or their fees are set for the whole season because people purchase a spot for whatever their summer season is. They probably want to think about that now, and if they're issuing communication to vendors and getting them ready for the new season that's opening, they should think about what their fee is going to be, and if they need to make adjustments, they do it now for their summer season.
It makes complete sense.
That's a good point, too. Obviously, any type of new policy or regulation or changing up of something on site, you're going to want to make sure that you clearly communicate that and think through how you're going to communicate that. Is it going to be a series of emails? Is it going to be a series of emails with some printed flyers? Are you going to have to walk the market and hand out flyers? Make sure you have an additional staff member on site to be able to help you accomplish that. So thinking through all these things before you put them into play is important.
And I'm going to say D, all of the above is that answer is the answer always to how are you going to communicate. Yeah. You're going to do it via email. You're going to pass out a physical flyer. You're going to talk to people. Always a good idea. If you're between seasons and it's not crazy busy, this is also a good time to visit other markets or scout social media and talk to the local rental kitchens for new farmers and vendors. This is a good time to be out there recruiting. And then last thing to do while you're taking advantage of the new year and reflecting and digging into big changes is remember that if you apply for FMPP grants, USDA made a big change this last year. Theoretically, they made it in April. They didn't actually manage to make it work until late in the fall. But you want to make sure that you've transitioned from using a DUNS number to the UEI, the Unique Entity ID. That is not as easy a switch as we all hoped it would be. So spend a little time now while you've got some brain space, maybe in between seasons or when the market's not quite as busy, and make sure you get that in place so that when that next FMPP round comes out in the spring, you're ready for those applications.
Good call. And this we didn't put on our outline, but typically for a lot of grants, the grant season is kind of in the spring. So maybe this is the time that you really start researching them, start working on them. And so that way when it's grant season, you're not panicking.
That's right. You're ready to go. You have projects in mind. You've lined up your technical advisors, like those of us here at Farmers Market Pros, that can help you implement what your project is, and start thinking ahead. There's nothing like that last night before a grant is due. that is not when you want to be asking around to see who you've got in your pocket to help.
I mean, Kat's up, so just call her.
Yeah. Don't call her. Email her. She won't respond, though.
She's not going to answer the phone.
But I do answer emails at all hours.
Yeah.
So what else do we want to do kind of getting ready for the new year? I think maybe tackling those long-time to-dos, things that have been lingering on your list. I know I do that personally for things around my house around that time of year. You can definitely take that kind of initiative and energy and into your kind of market stuff. So maybe reorganize your market storage. I know that's always like not my favorite thing to do, but when I do it, I feel so good, and I wonder why I waited so long to do it.
It's a very favorite thing to have done.
Yes.
It's like writing. Not our favorite thing to do, but it's really wonderful to have written.
Really great to have it done, yes. And maybe get some new staffers involved or, have look forward to a good lunch after you do it. I know when I've done a big storage reorganization with some of our staff, I said, okay, after this we can go have lunch together. So it kind of motivates us and kind of a fun thing to do to start the year off right.
Or get your board members involved.
There you go.
Anyone
Anyone who owes you, get them in there.
Call in those favors. Yeah, and I think that sometimes these things that we have on our to-do list that we put off for so long, they don't even take that long.
No.
They're not even that hard. It's just there's a mental block there. It seems really annoying, and then the fact that it's just been on your list for 2.5 years makes it ominous, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse in your brain. But if you can just, just take care of it, it'll be such a relief, and then you'll be like, oh, now I don't have to do that for another 3 years.
Yeah, and it's a good time to also say, okay, do I need a new tablecloth? Do I need a new banner? Do I need a new pen cup on my table? Just things that maybe need a little refresh. It's a good time to do it. Clean out the storage, clean out your market info booth bin, order some new supplies.
Yeah.
Call it a day. You'll be very lucky or feel very good that you did it later on.
Yeah. Speaking of cleaning, you can also clean up your email newsletter list. This is something that we did recently, and it is just so helpful, especially if you're trying to grow your email list, making sure that you get all those dupes out of there, all those bounce back emails, and just tidy it up. It'll make your email writing less annoying, which I know is another thing that us market managers always put off, is just getting those email newsletters out. But tidy up your email newsletter, or maybe you decide that you want to update your template, or you are going to get a new little masthead for your email newsletter. But just making those little changes can make it more fun and great to start the new year off with a little refresh.
Absolutely, and it affects what you pay a lot of times on your email platforms.
Yes.
So getting those duplicates and things off so that you're not paying for the same person twice can be
Yeah.
handy.
Yeah, we all get excited when we see those big list numbers, but if people aren't opening them and you're paying for that, for them to not get opened, just be realistic with yourself and think about financially, let those ones go, have a real list. Like we always say, like if you're writing an email for 5 people and 5 people are opening it, reading it, and coming to your market, it's worth it. So get those readers to be opening it.
Yeah.
Ditto with the vendor contact list. Make
Yes.
sure you get the right number and the right handles and things for all of your vendors so that
Yeah.
you're ready to plunge in.
Yep, just do a little info audit.
Yeah, you
know?
could ask your vendors, hey, do you have any new staff that's not on our list yet? Sometimes it's great to have both the business owner and the staff members on those email advisory lists. Make sure you have updated email and telephone number, update those emergency contacts and stuff like that.
It's a good time to do that when you're handing out those refreshed vendor policies as well. Say, hey, I want you to make sure that you know how to reach us. If you're having any kind of emergency, what's the best way to reach us? Now, what's the best way to reach you? Let's just double check that we have the correct information.
Yeah.
What are some other things we can do? Maybe create your market calendar, your marketing calendar for the year, and kind of choose your dates for market events.
Yes.
So I know if you're in the thick of it right now in a bunch of special events that might be happening in November and December, you don't want to think about those other events you have to do next year, but it is a good time to think ahead. Maybe think about things you wish you would have done earlier for the events that you're doing now and get a jump start on those for the spring and the summer, the fall and the winter next year.
Yeah. And if you are a seasonal market and your market is opening in, April and May, you really need to be like on time on delegate events and stuff like that. So make sure that you are reaching out to them. You could even write your press release if you know the date of your opening season. Send that out to local media. As soon as the Christmas, New Year season is over, they're going to be looking for other things to talk about. So get that info out right away.
Yeah.
You can also start thinking about National Farmers Market Week. I know that it seems like we just all collectively survived that, but it's never too early to start planning for fun summertime events.
Yeah, and that, again, when you're talking about public officials, if you start thinking about National Farmers Market Week now, you have time to approach people for a proclamation in your area or for a state proclamation.
Yeah. Now's the time.
Yeah. And then obviously establishing your dates for if you're going to do holiday markets or any special events during the holidays. We talked about this a couple weeks ago when we talked about holiday events, but here in San Diego, it seems like everything is happening all on the same day for those holiday markets, and it makes finding vendors really tricky. It makes getting publicity really tricky. It just makes logistics harder when we're all renting porta potties. So make sure that you set those dates ahead of time, and even if it just means you spend your week between Christmas and New Year's sitting down and sketching that out, you'll be happy that you did that down the line.
Make your list and check it twice.
Yes.
Right? While we're in that mode anyway.
And if there's other events happening around you right now, maybe, and you don't have a holiday event that you currently do or manage, but you're thinking that maybe you want to next year, pop around and go to those events and check them out and see how they're set up and see who's there and kind of do a little reconnaissance on those events so that you're prepared for next year.
That's really smart. The other calendars that you could be working on now for the upcoming year, of course, are your social media and email topic calendars.
Yes.
So it's kind of looking ahead at least to the next quarter about what you're going to write about, what you're going to talk about on social media, keeping an eye out for funny memes to repost, and scheduling your sponsor ads. So if you have sponsors that are supporting the market and you're trying to be sure that you mention them as many times as you promised you would at whatever level of sponsorship that they are, it's time to build that into your email newsletter calendar.
That's really smart. And popping back to little to-do list things that we've been avoiding, go through all your photos and you can organize them, you can categorize them, because guess what? Your farmers are probably going to have similar crops next year. And sometimes it's really hard to get photos of your farmers' tables every time they have something new. But if you have a picture from last spring and you know that this farmer is going to have this thing, you could probably use that photo in your newsletter. No one's going to know. But you have to organize and kind of take stock of what you have. But chances are you don't need to keep reinventing the wheel every single season. You could do, you can repeat stuff and no one's going to notice. And also we tend to have similar stuff every season at our market, so it just makes sense that there's going to be repeats anyway.
Yeah, definitely
an
reuse
organized
that.
photo file. That's what I want for Christmas.
That's what Kat always wants for Christmas.
Drilled down and tagged.
I think that that's an email newsletter kind of pro tip, is that like I was writing fresh email newsletters every single week, year over year, for like 5 years before someone finally was like, yeah, you can reuse like things that you posted or that you sent out last year. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So you look back, I mean, in MailChimp or whatever email newsletter provider you're using, and just look back, okay, in March of 2022, what was I writing about? Okay, well, probably the same things are happening. The same things are in season. And you don't copy and paste the entire thing. But when you get that content block, that's real. Content block is a serious disease. So if you need a little inspiration, just look back at what you were posting on social media, look back at what you were writing in your email newsletters, and use that for inspiration. There's probably a great photo there you can reuse. It will save you time and stress like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
So
I've also started doing that because we have a couple markets a week and we have a couple different social media handles. So I beg, steal, and borrow for myself all the time. Or sometimes Bridget will post something really awesome in the newsletter that I'm like, I'm just going to use that on social media.
And vice versa.
And vice versa. I get lots of ideas from stuff that's posted on social media. And Justine and I work at the same place. We're at the same markets. And so we have we both have eyes, but we're looking at things differently. So it's like, look at what people are sharing around you. Maybe look at the photo, like tagged photos at your market to see what your shoppers are seeing when they come to the market.
Yeah.
Like look through their eyes. And that's where you can get a ton of content and kind of plan that stuff out for the future year when you're making your marketing calendar.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Oh, other things having to do with marketing and talking about calendar. When you're setting your market calendar for the year, you might also want to look for other events that are happening in your area that you might want to table at or use as an opportunity for marketing for your market. You might not know the specific date yet, but if you're looking ahead and saying, oh, in spring, we always have a fun spring pageant at the local elementary school, that would be a great time for me to participate as a volunteer or a sponsor to get the word out about my market. So kind of, blocking those things out throughout the year and finding ways to get the word out about what you do at your farmer's market each week.
Yeah, reach out to people that are holding events and offer to do a little market basket as a silent auction prize or something that gets the word out about your market. Donate some market money, and that brings those winners back to your market to spend.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of spring events at schools that are always looking for items to have in their auction or their raffles. So, offering that up, that can really turn into an ROI situation for your market because that's your local community and that's who's going to shop at your market week over week. And once you get those kids eating those strawberries and tomatoes that taste that certain way, those kids are going to make those grown-ups shop at the market every week. So start them young and do it by kind of giving to those schools when they have those events going on.
Yeah, and I feel like those are things that people in the community might reach out to you, and when the time comes, you're stressed and you have too much going on. But if you can put it think ahead and put it on your calendar of oh, this is coming up in 3 months, it's a lot less intimidating when somebody texts you the week before and is like, hey, can I get a gift basket for this thing?
For sure. And put it in your budget too.
I was just going to say, if you have that planned, you can kind of look at, okay, at this point, I'm going to run out of budget for giving away market money prizes.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're plugging those in as you get those requests.
Yeah, so you can maybe kind of scope it out into quarters of the year. Like, okay, for the first quarter, I have the bandwidth or the budget to do 2 gift baskets. Second quarter, I can do $50 in market money. And so just really the first person that asks, or if you know of events, you approach them. And then other people are asking you, because as a market manager, you might get hit up kind of frequently for this kind of stuff, which is great that people want to involve the market. But if it's not in your budget, don't always say yes, because, that's going to affect your bottom line. But say, oh, I already did my $50 for this quarter. If you have something next quarter, go ahead and send me that information. If you have a holiday event, please keep me on your list, that kind of thing. So you have kind of a response to give to people. So you don't just ignore them or ghost them. And you can, put that into your market and marketing plan and budget.
Yeah.
Great ideas.
Yep.
And then there's some of the fun stuff that happens this time of year. There's nothing more exciting going into a new year than to really setting some dream big, awesome ideas and objectives for the next year. We always say, make a wish and then walk it back. So pick the craziest, most audacious goal
this is
you
scary
possibly
for Kat
could.
to say. I'm like, oh no,
No,
what
Kat,
are you thinking?
don't do it.
This applies to everyone but Kat. Dream big. But not you over
Not
there.
you there. Dream realistically, please, God.
Please.
Help us.
My team hates it when I say I have an idea.
Oh, we run.
My family's kind of like that too.
And I get both. I'm running from you a lot.
Poor Bridget.
Running a lot. Okay, for the rest of you
Yeah.
who don't have these spoil sports surrounding you, dream big. Think of really exciting things to do. Think of big ideas. And then, granted, some of those you're going to have to walk back and say, okay, well, we can't afford to do that exactly.
Yeah.
Or we don't have the bandwidth to fulfill quite that big a goal, but what can you do to get close? What can you do to make steps in that direction or to scale your dream to something that's achievable and that everybody can get some gratification out of accomplishing?
Yeah. Or you could do something like, this is my goal for 2023 and then also my goal for 2025 and kind of set those different milestones of this is a project I feel like I can accomplish in a year. And this is a project that it's going to take me a little while longer to work towards.
Yeah, I really like that idea of making some like long view goals. And you can share those with your vendors and your shopper community and your neighborhood because then they're like, oh, this is going to be around for a while. Like they have 2-3 year goals. Like, wow, this place is going to be here. I should support it. And then the kind of action on those goals, it's a little more incremental, a little more manageable. So you can do, A, B, and C this year, and then go down the line for years, year over year, instead of trying to cram everything into 2023, because sometimes that can just feel so overwhelming.
I think that's a really good idea, though, to talk about long-term goals and that perspective that will encourage people that you're going to be around. I know that, especially if you've got a market that's only been around for a year or two, we constantly get questions at our newer market about how long is this thing going to go on? Yeah. And they don't mean until 2 that day. They mean like, is this going to be here for 3 months and then you're gone? Or, nope, we're here for the long term. We're going to be here year after year. That's a really good thought that expressing those kind of long-term goals will provide some hope and some trust in your shoppers and your vendors and your farmers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, especially your vendors too, because that is a hard thing to get vendor buy-in when they don't know how long that market's going to be around. So that's really smart.
For sure.
And I love this, the idea of sharing your goals, but also asking your team to do the same thing. So ask all of your staff and maybe ask some of your farmers and vendors, you make a wish. What would you like to see? If we could accomplish anything, what would you like that to be? And now let's decide on a reasonable, achievable version of that goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's a way to kind of find out what people are really into. And maybe with a staff, you find out that one of your staff members really has a passion for kids' activities, and just asking them what their big goal is, that comes to the surface. And you're like, oh, wow, now I have a person on my team that can be in charge of this.
That's true.
And it's a different way of, instead of saying like, well, what job do you want to do? It just kind of helps it bring to the surface.
Yeah, what's the goal of this job? Like, yes, it's a job and you're going to have to be managing an activity, but for the greater purpose of what? Bringing more families into the market because we live in such a family-focused community, or whatever is the case for your market. Just kind of see what those goals are, take a look at what will work, and put an action plan together.
Absolutely. Might find somebody that knows how to teach your customers to grow their own things. That is such a handy thing to do. They find out just how hard it is to produce a tomato on that one plant.
And then they'll shop your market forever.
That's right, and really appreciate what the farmers put into things. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, you'll come across that customer that turns out to be really talented at it. You've got an urban farmer then to add to your vendor mix.
There you go. Well, those are some really great ideas. I feel like it always seems like a lot, and I know people kind of get down on New Year's resolutions, like, oh, we don't need to be making these goals. Like, they never work out. We don't stick to them. When it comes to your farmers market business, I feel like just make, 20 goals, and then even if you achieve like 12 of them, that's still a lot. You've accomplished 12 goals.
Yeah.
Or you'll learn a lot throughout the process. So don't stop making those goals. Don't stop making kind of resolutions for the new year and sprucing up things that need to get spruced. Like, that'll keep you going when stuff is really hard and weird and you feel like you're at the end of your rope. You'll say, okay, well, I have this goal for September, so I have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
And even if you don't accomplish those New Year's resolutions, it is at least a timestamp where this time next year you can look back and just say like, oh, that's where I was at. And even if you didn't have a huge National Farmers Market Week celebration or increase your vendor count by 30% or increase your budget by 15%, like at least just looking back at those goals that you made will give you a sense of accomplishment, because in some ways you will have grown, and it may not have been the ways that you wanted to or expected to, but everybody makes growth over a year. And it's fun to have kind of that like Dear Diary, like this is who I was at this time last year reflection moment.
It's a good reminder to keep track of what you do at the market all year, so you can do that annual review at the end of 2023 and see how far you've come.
You will have come miles. I'm counting on it. Thanks for listening today, and big thanks to MarketWurks for helping farmers market managers achieve their goals by putting all of the tools to succeed in one place, and for supporting Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. Find more information and sign up by clicking the MarketWurks logo on the resource page at farmersmarketpros.com.
Farmers markets are all about connection, and all of us, operators, farmers, and vendors, keep learning. Connect with people just like you from various parts of the country and share what's happening in your area in the terrific conversations over in our private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros Community. If you're actively involved in a farmers market, please find us there, answer the 3 qualifying questions, and join the group. You can also message us on Instagram at Farmers Market Pros or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros.com. If you're looking for further education, check out our online course offerings at farmersmarketpros.com. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us and others how you're enjoying Tent Talk. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast, is proudly produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni-Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening today, and we'll have another great episode next week, so tune in.